Good morning. This is the Wellness Wake Up with Rebecca. I am the Community Outreach Coordinator for Connections Resource Center, and our aim right now is really to keep parents and their kids connected through this tough time and also beyond. So I hope you have joined me today. Today's topic is clutter busting. If you have any questions as I'm going through this, please post them, or if you have any comments, same thing, post them and I will do my darndest to answer them to the best of my abilities. And if I don't know the answer right now, I will get back to you with the answer. Okay, so today we are talking about clutter busting. Why? Because it's something that we're all pretty aware of right now, living in these spaces together, that there's some stuff here in our houses. So a great rainy day activity, or a day that is cooler or whatever, is to just sit down and go through some clutter, clear it out, and I promise you'll feel so much better after it's done. Today I'm coming to you from my children's room because this is where a lot of the clutter resides often, particularly since we started to do our basement renovation. So a lot of that clutter sort of came upstairs and began to live up here, and now I really just want to get going through it. I have Trisha here, Nat here, Rachel here. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. It means a lot. And yeah, as I say, just ask any questions. I'll be glad to answer. So the first thing, hold on, coffee. Always coffee first. That is critical. Clutter and coffee go together hand in hand, I believe. Or whatever warm beverage you have on hand at this time of the morning. Okay, so the first thing before you touch anything in the room or the space that you intend to clear clutter out of is you want to ask yourself why. Why am I doing this? What is the reasoning behind me clearing out the clutter? And I'm going to suggest to you that there are three key reasons. You'll probably have many of your own, but there are three key reasons that parents want to be doing this. The first is parental stress. For whatever reason, our children's clutter and our own clutter creates a level of stress in our minds that is associated very closely with guilt and shame. As mothers, we are super good at guilt and shame. Fathers too, but moms have like a line on guilt. And I don't know why that is, but it's true. We feel this sense of responsibility for anything that seems to go wrong in our children's lives. And that includes their clutter. We feel that sometimes I'll look at a cluttered room and I'll be like, oh, I've spoiled them. I've given them too much stuff and they're not respecting it. Some of it's broken. And, you get to a place where you turn that frustration and stress onto yourself. That's not good. The second thing that will happen is it becomes a source of conflict then, because the answer to that stress and not wanting, oh, I've spoiled them already, not wanting to do it yourself, is you say to them, go clean your room. Well, depending on the age of your child, and even into the teen years, the phrase go clean your room, hold on, I've got way too much light coming in here, just 2 seconds. Oh, no, Is that better? The phrase go clean your room is such a blanket statement, and kids that get to their room and they're like, where do I start? It's complete overwhelm, right? They don't get where to begin, and then so they do nothing. There's like a moment of freezing, like, and then you come up 20 minutes later and nothing has been accomplished, and you clash. What are you doing? Are you not taking me seriously? You see it as an act of defiance. Clear your room. And so now you've got conflict. The other thing, and I think the core thing that we need to really focus on as a reason for clearing the clutter in our homes, is child stress. Children want toys. That's a given. And they want all of their toys. They want it all forever. But what they don't tell us verbally, but that we can see in their behavior, is that those same toys and that same clutter causes them stress. So that can happen in a few ways. The first way is their subconscious can't focus because their minds are taking in all of the data around them, which includes all of the clutter. There's an inability to focus on just one thing or just one task or just one idea. So to say, go up to your room and color, it becomes a very difficult task for a child who's got a cluttered environment. They can't just focus on the coloring because of all the other stuff around, right? It's a distraction. The second way that it creates stress is it doesn't give space to our children, for our children. My kids share this room. It's a tiny, tiny room. They sleep in bunk beds. They need the space to be. And then the third is that for us, deciding to get rid of a hand cream or a pillow or whatever is a small decision. But for our children, it's quite a large decision. Because these are their main, this is their property. These are their things, right? It can be quite a source of stress. So what do? How do we tackle this? And you might be inclined to just like run into the bedroom and just like start going through everything and pitching and whatever. I'm going to suggest just calm down. Any questions so far, by the way? If I've got questions, just ask. Sarah's here. Hi. Questions, comments, just ask. Okay. Before you do anything, before you engage your child, before you don't engage your child, before you even go there, I'm just going to suggest you go into the space, you close the door, you make sure nobody's around, you're going to have some quiet moment. You're going to sit in the space, you're going to close your eyes a little bit, and you're going to think about, okay, what are my family's values? If your family doesn't like violent toys, for example, or violence of any sort, the gun toys, the Nerf guns, are not going to fit, right? And you're going to decide in our family that as a value doesn't exist, it isn't compatible. We need to be clear on that. The other thing, so that's just an example of one family value. Another thing for us, nature is a huge family value, having nature-based toys. So we have a lot of wooden toys because we like that tactile feeling of the natural wood for them to play with, and clay, and all of those kinds of things. So that's an example of family values. So you're just going to think about that. Then you're going to think about the space that you're in. So I am in my child's bedroom right now. What is this space for? It's not for playing. The primary focus of this room is sleep. So I'm going to keep that in mind when I'm clearing the clutter in this room. Okay, so there we go. We're doing this before. Next, you're going to say to yourself, what kind of feelings do I want my child to have when they're in this space? So in the case of a bedroom, for me, I really want them to feel peaceful, I want them to feel safe, and I want them to feel cozy. So does the environment reflect that? Does the environment allow for that? So as I'm going through all of the items in the room, I'm thinking of those major things. Okay, then you're going to gather your tools. Now we're ready. Okay, we've set it up. We know our why. We know our values. And we're going to gather our tools. So this is the easiest thing in the world. 3 tools. First tool, recycle box or bag. Second tool, storage bin. This one is not for in the room. It's not for the keeping. It's for the things that are going to go away. Third tool, storage bin for keeps. So I happen to have another one of these around, okay? And that's going to go, as you can see, right up there. There's a nice empty space. I'm going to fill this with things that we're keeping. Okay. We have our 3 items. And we're going to do this in 3 steps. There's a lot of 3s. It's like fairy tales. Once upon a time, I walked into my child's room. And first, I picked up a toy. So one of the questions that I get asked a lot is, do you do this with the kids or without the kids? Totally up to you. I find when I do it with the kids, it's exhausting. Everything wants to be kept and everything is important. I prefer to do it without, and then I can always add back as needed. And I'll explain a little bit more about that at the end. So here's a toy. I'm going to ask myself a couple of questions. Is this broken in any way? Is it incomplete? I see I have the wrench. Do I have the hammer? Are all the pieces there? If they are not, and I cannot find those pieces, into the recycle they go. Why recycle? Oh, it's a perfectly good toy. You do not want to hand off an incomplete or broken toy to people. People don't want it. It's going to end up in the recycling anyway. Sometimes you got to be really tough about it, okay? So there's that. Next, okay, let's say it has all the pieces. I found the hammer, everything's together, I'm all set. Now I'm going to say, okay, do they use it? When's the last time I saw them playing with this? I'm also going to ask myself, is this suitable for their age? Mine are now 5 and 9, going on 9. Is this an age-suitable toy? Usually wooden open-ended toys are. And then the last question is, do they fit with the values of the family or the values that I came up with for the space, that I thought about for the space? And even, are they open-ended enough? Do they allow scope of imagination? Can I use this in multiple ways? Okay, can the kids use this in multiple ways? So if we come to no for any of those, we're going to put it in this bin. Okay, no, it's not age appropriate anymore. In it goes. And then once you have filled this bin, this does not stay in the house. This goes straight to the trunk of the car or wherever outside of your home. Because if it stays in the house, it's just going to get reintegrated. And then that box is going to become another source of stress. Oh, there's a box in the corner of the room. Okay. But if you discover, no, the kids still play with it, it's open-ended enough, you're going to put it into your keep bin. And then you're going to store it. Okay? And the nice thing about this process is it's very simple, stupid. You know, you can't get caught up in, well, they used it once on, I think it was in October. And, you know, if you're starting to go there, if you're reaching for reasons to keep things, you might consider that you are struggling to declutter. This is not about your kids so much. This is partly about your inability to let go of things. I know, because I've been there. We went through some of the kids' stuffed animals about a month back, and they wanted to let go of a couple of things, and I actually said, no, I actually cried out, no! I actually was like, oh, you can't get rid of that! Your godmother gave that to you, and blah, 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 right? So there are many elements going on. Christiana is here. It's wonderful to see you. Thank you for joining. So yeah, I mean, there's so many elements to this that we have to think about. But when we break it down into a 3-step process like that, gosh, it makes life so much easier. Okay. And then this is where we can start to engage the kids a little bit more. We start to make piles, keep piles, right? We've got our stuff in this, our storage stuff that we're giving away into the car, into the trunk. It's ready to go. We've got our recycle stuff out by the curb. We've got our keep items. We're going to make piles according to the kinds of toys that they are, and then we're going to put them in their bins, and they're going to go up on the shelf, and we're going to feel so, so, so much better. And so are our kids. So, yeah, I think also at the end of this, what we need to do is evaluate, right? I would recommend keeping that bin in the trunk for a little while and seeing, do the kids ask for something that went into that bin? Oh, where's my whatever? And if they do, it's totally legitimate to bring it back out and bring it back into the space. But I'm going to bet that they probably will not ask for it, which means that it was time for it to go anyway, right? Nat asks, I find that now that everyone is home, I've had to rethink how to organize my spaces. Have you found this? Oh, yes. That's a great question. So we have a very small house here. So the dining room table is our office space. And everybody's working there. I find the kids work there on their little workbooks and they're coloring. My husband is down there working and often mumbling to himself as he tends to do. And I'm down there setting up for a live, which is part of the reason I came live in this room. It's not easy when we're all on top of each other. So yes, trying to give the spaces new meaning. I know, Nat, you were saying your kids are now sleeping, many of them, the boys anyway, down in the basement, which was normally a play space for you. So yes, offering yourself an honest evaluation. Is this working for us right now as part of this troubled time? Does that work? Then okay, maybe we can keep it like this for now. But when it goes back to normal, whatever normal is, are we going to continue with this? The other thing we ask ourselves a lot in this house, so let's say we take a trip to McDonald's, or they've come back from a birthday party and there's toys that come home. I will let the kids sort of take that toy in their hand and look at it closely, and I'll say, is this a keeper toy, like a long-term toy, or is this a temporary toy? So in many cases, stuff that comes from like a Happy Meal or whatever is very clearly a temporary toy. It's going to break within, a day. And I have to be super honest with them about that right up front. We're not keeping this for a long period of time. It's just for the week, and have a lot of fun with it right now. So does that answer that question a little bit? Oh, Nat says, yes, that's right, in their new forts. Yes, it's wonderful, and it's great to have novelty. I mean, we had the tent in the middle of our living room because we wanted to have something fun and different. It doesn't mean you can't do those things. It just means that the kids need to understand that that's not a long-term thing. And gosh, did I ever breathe a sigh of relief when the tent came down yesterday and I had my living room back. We didn't all trip over each other. Nicole is here. Nat asks, do you rotate your kids' toys? When my kids were younger, I remember rotating them a lot. I used to. I discovered I didn't have enough storage space for it in this small house, but Nat, I think you would actually have quite a good opportunity to get some big bins that have the lids on them and just store them in a separate room and then bring them out for sure. That sense of novelty is always amazing. The trouble is when we store toys like that and then forget, which totally can happen, and then you stumble upon them, and when you go to rotate them back in, they're no longer suitable for their age or whatever. So we have to be careful too that we're not just saying, oh, I'm using it for rotating in, and then discovering actually we're just not able to let go of those things. We need to be really honest with ourselves. I feel like I wanted to talk about something else. Oh yes, so we have kind of been put in a position right now where we're simplifying our children's lives, right? Not just with respect to their spaces, but we've been voluntold that we need to, and rightfully so, that we need to simplify their activities. So you may already be seeing a change in your child's behavior just in terms of becoming less all over the place and more calm because they're doing less stuff and they're less all over the place. Now, for some, because we're observing our children more than we normally would, we might see it as they might be displaying more hyperness because they're not doing all their activities, or that may be what we're seeing, or we imagine that we're seeing. But what it simply could be, we could also be seeing more of like a relaxed approach, or a relaxed feeling on the part of our kids, because we've simplified their lives by cutting back on so many of their activities. We're not racing here and there, and so they get to just sort of be. Play with toys that maybe they haven't looked at in forever. Color a picture. You know, I think it's super important for kids to have this chance to just simplify and be a little bit. And then when we do decide, okay, it's time for them to go back to their activities, we can be really, really, we can declutter their activities too. We can say to ourselves, okay, we're making a choice now for them to go back to these activities. They don't have to go back to everything. What are we going to choose for them to go back to? And that's a kind of a decluttering in itself. We're decluttering their world. So we're decluttering their spaces, we're decluttering their time, and it's a real service to our kids. Sarah says, any good advice for organizing craft materials? Oh, gosh. Yes, maybe we should do a live on just craft materials. I struggle so much with this. We do use baskets a lot, so I have my Play-Doh basket, and I have my coloring book basket, and all of that good stuff. But yeah, let me get back to you on that one. We might have to schedule a live just on that, because, oh my word, it can get out of hand. And we can follow some of the similar rules with that, right? Do they actually use it? Is it age appropriate? Go through and think about, does it fit with the values of our family? Is it too much based on a particular character? Like, we had so many Paw Patrol coloring books around here. At one point I was like, I can't, no more. It's got to stop. And then Sarah says, I love that mine are making up more games now. Oh, yes. When the toys spark the imagination, when the space sparks the imagination, when you clear the stuff out, it's true, Sarah, that there's, it leaves scope for the imagination. As Anna Green Gables says, you know, there's so much more room for the mind to take over instead of the stuff to take over. And mine are out of control, but honestly, it's more my materials that are crazy. Yes, we have days. Well, you know, you've met Vince. There's a level of energy there it can be killer. Or perhaps, Sarah, you meant my craft stuff is out of control. Is that what you mean? Oops. I thought you meant your kids. But my kids are out of control too. It's all about finding the balance, right? And knowing that, yeah, I mean, just because you've cleared their space and cleared their environment and stuff, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to see the perfect behavior, but it does mean you're going to get a sense of what your kids really value and what you really value. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. This has been quite a long live, but I was so thrilled to see questions here. Don't stop asking questions. If you watch this later and you have questions, feel free to write. I see mine too, my kids too. Yes, oh hooray, I'm not alone. Thank goodness, crazy coots. All right, my loves, this is lovely, and as I say, I will be answering questions later as well, so don't stop asking them, and we'll talk soon. We'll do a craft segment, I think.